I think we can get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Research Data Alliance's information session titled What to Expect When Attending an RDA Plenary. My name is Yolanda Melico. I'm the project director and secretariat member at RDA, and I'll be speaking today with our Secretary General, which is Hillary Hanaho, right there in your thumbnail. As our agenda shows, we'll be talking only a brief amount of time, maybe 30 minutes or so, with the goal of giving you key highlights about the value of our RDA plenaries and how to make the most of them as an attendee, while also leaving enough time for you to ask any questions that we might not have covered. It's a small crowd, but basically we're asking, as in typical webinars, just mute your presentation. If you have questions, you can use the chat box, but you're free to just turn off your microphone and ask us questions, and we can have a conversation directly. And if you're a social media enthusiast, use the hashtag RDA Plenary and promote the session if you'd like, and we'd appreciate it. We had a Mentimeter. There's a small group right here, so I'm going to skip over these. But basically, if you don't mind, if you can just tell us a little bit about where you're coming from, you know, if you're okay with speaking on the slide, where you're coming from and what your area of expertise is, that would be great. Anybody like to volunteer?
How about I start while the others?
Yeah, go ahead, thanks.
So I'm Hillary Hanaho, and I am the Secretary General of the Research Data Alliance, but I don't actually have a data background, which is interesting. So my job is to promote and manage the organization and also advocate, of course, for all the work that is done. And I'll tell a little bit more about it afterwards. But I've had the pleasure of being involved in the Research Data Alliance since its launch back in 2013, together with Yolanda as well. So we go back a long way.
Yeah, and you're based in Italy, right?
I am. I'm Irish, but thank you. I'm Irish, but I'm based in Italy in a little village in Tuscany, just outside Pisa.
Lovely. Lovely. And I'm based in upstate New York. I'm in the United States, and I've been here for, as Hillary said, for probably since 2014. I think my first plenary was in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. So that was an interesting orientation into RDA. Anyone else? Demjana, we talked a little bit at the beginning. Do you want to say where you're from?
Yeah, just a couple. Of course, I'm coming from Ljubljana, so relatively close to Italy, Tuscany. I'm from University of Ljubljana. I'm a molecular biologist by background. I'm also not a data scientist, but recently I'm involved in, I'm responsible for data management plan in actually two European projects on nanomaterial safety. So I'm following these webinars. I'm very much interested to learn new things and how to make data accessible, fair, how to share it, and in particularly how to contribute to annotations and metadata and all the rest. I'm also active in Slovenian RDA, especially in the terminology session. So thanks.
Thanks for doing that. Thanks for volunteering. Kathy Todd Brown's chatted. She's from the University of Florida and specializes in soil carbon models and informatics. And Goy, I'm sorry, I'm sure I'm not saying it right, but he's on public transport, and he's from the Netherlands and works at SURF as a project manager on the National PID Roadmap. Thanks all for joining us. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Hillary Hanaho. She's going to talk a little bit about RDA overall briefly, and then we'll delve into the plenaries. Hillary, would you like to go?
Yes, and she is a good as a she, but we have Francoise with us as well. Oh. But I think she unmuted.
Yeah,
I am not muted anymore, so I can just say two words. My name is Françoise Genova. I am an astronomer, emerita astronomer at Strasbourg Observatory in France, and I have been involved in the RDA before it began. So I'm glad to be with you tonight.
Thank you for joining us. Megan, are you able to speak?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm Megan. I'm also part of the RDA Secretariat. I'm over here in RDA US. Got a lovely little afternoon. And I am in St. Louis, Missouri. So
Great, thank you. Thank you. All right, back to you, Hillary.
Thanks very much, Yolanda. So we're a small group, and we're we're a small team of people in the Secretariat, but for a rather large community. So as you can see from the slide, I'll be quick. The Research Data Alliance has this very important and ambitious vision, but of sharing and reusing data across technologies, across disciplines, and across countries to address the grand challenges of society. And I can't remember if it's actually called Open Science Day today, but anyway, the United Nations, I think, declared that the 28th of September would be Open Access, Open Science Day. And so it's quite fitting that we talk about this because, of course, while our vision doesn't mention open science, that is really fundamentally what we are trying to do, to support, if you like, the sharing and the reuse of data, irrespective of what technology you use, irrespective of what discipline you're working in. So nice to see that those who are in a disciplinary area are all from different areas. Or in what country. Yeah, and how do we do that? Well, by building these social and technical bridges that enable that vision. I'll talk a little bit about, but not much, because the focus here is on the plenaries, but how we do that in a moment. But in the boxes on the right side of your screen, you should see different numbers and things like that. So we are proud to have a community of actually over 12,000 members now, because it changes so quickly and we haven't updated that. We do an update once per month. The majority of whom come from academia and research, which follows in line with the focus of our work, and particularly the fact that the data really is data coming from research. And we do it through these working and interest groups, which I will talk a little bit about in a moment. We have over 50 outputs now that the groups themselves and the community, this wonderfully large global community from 146 countries across the globe, generate together in a community-driven grassroots way. And those outputs are open for all to use and implement and test and take up. So, and in fact, some of these stories around there's over 140 of them to try and help understand ways in which they have been adopted, if you like, or taken up or implemented different solutions or combinations of them. In the next slide, it shows that, I mean, we have, as you see, this vision and mission, but everything that underpins our work is based on these fundamental guiding principles. And I like to spend a little minute every presentation on talking about them, because I think they're very unique and very important. So everything that we do is open, all of our meetings, and the outputs of the groups and things are publicly disseminated and available. We strive for consensus. We try to encourage consensus rather than voting or things, and that applies in fact in our governance, but also in the work itself. RDA wants to be inclusive. That means that we want to try and ensure as much as possible a very broad and balanced inclusivity of our members, individual, but also the stakeholder communities. Because if we say that we are doing it across disciplines and technologies and things, and we're striving for this open science and all the different aspects of FAIR, then we need to try and ensure that we are as inclusive as possible. There obviously harmonization, so we don't want duplication of efforts. We don't want things. We want to see harmonization coming from the activities in terms of standards and policies and the communities themselves. Of course, as I said before, it's community driven. So that's quite the unique thing about RDA. There are many organizations that are complementary, they're top down, they define the work areas. It's our community that define them as people. So it's by the community, for the community. And it's nonprofit and technology neutral, which means that we ask that the outputs do not involve technology lock-in when they're made available to the community, because that is not within the spirit of RDA. So that's a little bit about our guiding principles. And then I think the last thing I wanted to touch on before we talk about the plenaries, because it will help you to understand, is really the heart of RDA. So that's about our vision, our mission, and the different ways in which we underpin that with our principles. But what is the heart of RDA? Well, it is the community members coming together in these three different ways. We have working groups, we have interest groups, and now we have a new category, which are called communities of practice. Very quickly, I won't go through the different things. I think the major difference between the working groups and the interest groups are that, of course, the working groups have a strong focus and a time limit. They have decided they wish to produce a certain piece of an output or a technology, a recommendation, or a piece of code or a standard, and they work dedicated to that, and then the life cycle has a specific process. The interest groups are broader in terms of focus. Many times they are around different types of data problems and sharing on what infrastructure or a community specific problem, and many times, in fact, the outputs of an interest group are to spin off a working group or to do a piece of dedicated work, if you like, under a working group. And the interest groups can continue on with the discussions as long as they are active and valuable. But they have some very, very interesting outputs in terms of case statements and guidelines. For example, the legal interoperability, they have a supporting output. And then we have communities of practice. So as RDA has matured and grown in terms of community members and areas in which we work, we've seen the need for dedicated disciplinary or domain-specific communities of practice. And I think our colleague from the University of Florida will be interested to know that we actually have an agricultural data community of practice, which is just in its final stages of approval and will start now. We had an agricultural data interest group, which has been very active under the umbrella of RDA, and indeed is bursting at the seams with different areas in which, because agricultural data, as Kathy will know, is a very large area. And so now the community of practice is a sort of an umbrella and a connection, I like to explain it, as between those who, if you like, work in the agricultural field or around, if you like, that field and have data challenges, but also internally to RDA to see what are the outputs and recommendations and activities that are ongoing there that could be of value to that community. So that's the community of practice, as I say, starting up, and they will feature in our upcoming plenary, which I will now leave the floor to Yolanda to explain.
So thank you. So our plenaries are, I'm not sure how many of you have been to one or not, but basically they're meetings organized by RDA that occur every 6 months, which bring together the community to collaborate together. They're done through individual breakouts for the working and interest groups and the communities of practice, and birds of a feather sessions, poster sessions, panel discussions, and networking sessions. Ultimately, the goal of the meeting is to further advance the work of the RDA community through the development of tangible deliverables, or what we call recommendations and outputs, that will improve data sharing across the board, which means across all disciplines, technologies, and regions. So this slide just goes into detail about the history of our plenaries. So stemming all the way back to 2013 with our first meeting in Sweden. So as you can see, RDA has literally traveled the world up until 2020 when we were forced to go virtual along with the rest of the population. Just leave it there for a minute. So I think September 2014 was when I started, and you've been at the beginning, Hillary, right? Too, so quite a few.
But not in this role, yeah.
Yeah, no, but we've been around. Our most recent plenary was virtual plenary 17, and that was in March in Edinburgh. Digital Curation Center was our host and organizer. And this slide just goes into some highlights from the meeting itself. So it was attended by over 800 people. We had social sessions, we had some dancing, we had some music. It was quite an amazing event that they pulled off. So it was, we're very proud of it. So in short, these meetings in person and in virtual So despite COVID, we've done some fantastic virtual events. They've continued to offer attendees a way to share information, address barriers, find solutions. And by doing so, new trends and developments are uncovered, collaboration and partnerships are formed through our embedded networking opportunities that are within the structure of the meeting itself. So in the end, these meetings continue to solve data infrastructure challenges. We've been talking a lot about the member community who attends the plenaries, but the public is open to attend the plenary as well. But if you are not a member of RDA, we encourage you to do so. Membership is free. You simply do it through the website, the homepage of the website. There is a link there. We encourage you to do that. You don't have to necessarily join a group right away, but you can become a member. The plenaries are attended by people from across the globe. The Africa, Americas, Asia, Europe, Oceania, depending on the actual location. When we were doing face-to-face, it was heavily attended by the local organizers by now, but we're seeing more diversity come into play now as we go virtual. So almost the representation is quite amazing. Profession-wise too, we have in typical conferences, it's usually geared towards a certain profession. At RDA, where our plenaries, we have a multitude of professions that come and attend. We have CEOs coming and networking with our librarians, and we have researchers and professors, and it's just quite amazing. You'll never know who you'll talk to when you attend one of these meetings. And our domains, not only professions, we have a multitude of domains that attend. So all this, the way for these medical, health, agriculture, social sciences is just a sampling of what we see. The representation of our audience is what makes RDA plenaries so unique. So if you were to come to our plenary in virtual plenary 18, for example, we ask for you, there's some steps that we typically guide our attendees to do. We have a newcomers page on our website, and we'll send you out those links. They're at the end of this presentation. And that includes everything you'll need to know about RDA. And as in, it is a robust program. So what we also ask you to do is review it ahead of time and pick a few areas of interest. So the draft program is out, and I'll include a link to that in the end. So scan through that program and see what areas are most interesting to you. So the agriculture, you'll see some working groups and interest group sessions on that. The community practice, I think, is also doing a session. So that, Kathy, might be something of you be able to flag. And if you're not a member of the groups that are holding those sessions, join the group ahead of time. That's an excellent way to monitor the preparation. They often post documentation ahead of time of the session, so you'll be well versed to the topics that will be discussed during the meeting. And then as you do your research, you'll be able to develop that preliminary schedule. In typical plenaries, what we often do is, as we get closer to the event, we post the attendee list in terms of the names and the organizations, the names of the people and their organizations that'll be attending. And sometimes that gives you a clue as to an indication of who you might want to network with, who might have the most vested interest in you. So that's just something to keep in mind. And as I said before, social media, our Twitter handle is at RES Data All, and we have that at the bottom here of our footnote. We post a lot of our items there, what's relevant to the plenary. So keep an eye on that. And as always, when you prepare, don't forget to register. So there's a nominal rate that's being charged for to offset the cost of the labor and the technology. So we ask that you register as soon as possible. Our early bird rate ends on the 25th. So hopefully you'll do that and secure the most cost-effective rate. When you're actually attending the event, we just ask that you attend as many sessions as possible, live sessions, because that gives you the opportunity to engage one-on-one directly in real time with the speakers, with the attendees, and some really fruitful discussions can take place during those sessions. We'll be recording them and posting them, but it's just the live experience is probably what you're going to want, what we recommend. And that conversation is, even though some of these topics may be new to you, it doesn't mean your questions are always valued, and it's nothing silly. So always ask questions, provide your comments, provide your expertise. it's amazing the conversations that will transpire from just a simple statement. So we ask for you to be as interactive as possible. If you have the meeting profile in the website, the technology, when the event website goes live, we ask that you update that so you have your expertise levels and your contact information as updated as possible. And then just continue to connect with attendees throughout the meeting platform via social media. And I mentioned this before as preparation, but join the groups. If you didn't join the groups before the plenary started, join the groups after. So that's a way to continue to monitor the group's progress and be aware of opportunities where you can be a part of. Yeah, and I'm just looking at some of the chat rooms, and Hillary's mentioning there's going to be a couple of changes across some of the sessions, but the details are almost complete. Thanks, Hillary. Okay, just going forward. Like I said before, there's working groups, interest groups, and joint group sessions. And those breakout sessions are going to focus on advancing the work within the groups, explore synergies with other groups, and attracting new members, discussing new topics, and maybe even establishing new groups from within those meetings. So even if you don't have a lot of experience in those breakout meetings, they will be collaborating, they will be doing work, but there is an opportunity for you to engage at all levels. So don't let that be an indicator. I'll go a little bit into the structure of how the program works and how you can identify what phase those sessions are in those groups in just a second. The birds of a feather sessions are meant to gauge interest in a proposed topic. So that's different than a working and interest group. So that if members have an idea of a topic that's not being addressed at RDA, these birds of a feather sessions are meant for to gather people together to brainstorm and see if it's worthwhile creating a new group, a working or interest group, or maybe there's just not enough interest, and that those sessions are used to decide that as well. The networking sessions are going to be in this program quite a bit, and those are we'll have, I think we're working on themes right now, and those are just opportunities for attendees to connect with other RDA members, and we're doing our best to accommodate all time zones as well. So this is the color coding in the program. When you go to the draft program, basically it talks breakout 9. The first in the BOF, the first bullet talks about it's a birds of a feather session, and that the second steps towards defining is the title. The second bullet is the working group. WG stands for working group. The second piece in that program, raising fairness in health data and health research, that's the actual name of the group. And the third part of this program is the title of the meeting. So, and then that little yellow, the orange circle there, that indicates the age of the group, the where it is in its development. So that yellow icon indicates that it's producing the phase of producing deliverables, and it's been active for about 6 to 12 months. So we have this coding in the program. It's a little complicated, but RDA is a little complicated, but this is our best attempt at trying to streamline our program and give you all the information you need right at a glance. We also have what will be developed published by October 9th. It's called our Plenary Pathways. So because there are so many sessions, I think we'll be having about 60 or so, maybe more breakouts include with the repeat sessions for this meeting. But we organize each of the sessions by pathways or basic tracks. They're tracks what you would basically see in different other conferences. So these are some topics that we are categorizing them. And the example here is on there's a link here to the pathway document. And after VP 18, after Virtual Plenary 18, we have International Data Week coming. And that will be in Seoul, Korea in June. So there'll be much more promotion coming on that in the coming months. So stay tuned. And we also have Salzburg in October 2023. So there is constant plenary planning in the works here. We have a momentum that we keep moving. So, but this session here was just to show you the best ways to prepare to come, what the value of it is. And we hope to see you at VP18. These links right here, if I can copy this, I'll try to copy this for you when I'm not doing it, is basically the newcomers page that I talked about earlier. There's a group search by focus that helps you find groups that are most relevant to you. There's a recommendation output search, the program link, and the link to our registration is there as well. So, and this last slide is just our contact information, and you can feel free to contact me directly anytime, or the inquiries email at the top. But that is almost less than 30 minutes, and we're trying to make this a little short for everyone, but just to give you a little bit of a nutshell of what to expect. But I'll open it up to any of you if you have any questions. I think a couple more chat messages. Oh, thank you.
I put the links in. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you have questions for? And Hillary and Francoise, Megan, if there's anything I made a miss, feel free to add.
No, I don't think so. I know it's the next topic of the next meeting, but I wondered, oh no, Kathy, you asked the question. Go ahead.
Oh, so I guess my question was just how do you, so I've been watching RDA for a year or so now, and it's really not clear to me, how do you engage with RDA outside of these events and outside of these conferences? Yeah, I guess that's my question.
Yes, so the best way, in fact, is to get involved in the groups. There are different ways, I suppose. I mean, you're based in the US, so joining the national group, if there is one, which there is for the US, and you're lucky to have actually an office in your region, but they're doing webinars and outputs. Mm-hmm. Joining the actual groups, as I don't know if you know how that's actually done, but I mean, you just go into the group page and join it.
I thought I had, but I haven't been like getting any meeting notices or
yeah.
any
so
way.
I'm going to force my screen, if you don't mind, and see if I can show how to. So yeah, it could be the case, Kathy, that they're not that they aren't updating. So we do ask, while we're very free and open about allowing people to do what they want, we do ask that they keep updated on their group pages where the meetings are taking place, if they're using GitHub or Slack, and some are better than others. The other thing is then, if you are wishing to, there are groups that you are interested in, the best I can say to you now is to send us an email to the inquiries, tell us the groups that you want, and we put you directly in contact with the chairs of the groups and the members of the groups to try and see, because they could be using other channels that they're not broadcasting on the web platform. And Francoise may have something to add to that. I don't know.
I think one of the very useful things to do if you are interested in a group is to look at their sessions at the previous plenary. Because in general, there is lots of information about what they are doing currently. They may give information on where to find information if it is not directly on the website. And it puts you in the mood of a group, and you see if it interests you or not. And the last plenaries, the sessions at the last plenaries are a good starting point also, in addition to what is on the website.
And if you're not, if you are a member, you should be getting a monthly newsletter, which basically summarizes the highlights of our group activities each month. So that'll give you a heads up of what's been moving along.
I have been sending the monthly newsletter.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you for that as well.
Spam thing going on, but yeah. So actually, in addition to Francoise, that's a good point to look at the previous ones, and we make available about 6 to 8 weeks after all the plenaries, the recordings of the sessions, especially for our last 3 virtual ones. So if there's one of particular interest, you might not want to watch the whole meeting, but get some idea at least of the slides. But again, we're happy to help if we can, by putting you in contact with the people if they're not responsive, or trying to understand why they're not responding.
Very good. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So on that note, we'll be posting the slides out on the website and the recording of this as well. So thank you all, and hopefully we'll see you at Virtual Plenary 18.
Thanks very much.
Okay, have a good day.
Bye.
Everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.